Hello and welcome to the Astrology and Spirituality show for week commencing the 8th of November. Now we have got a birthday winner this week. We've also got some cracking suggestions for the word of the week. Synchronicity was one, but I think the one we're going to go for is...
Redemption.
Redemption, because we think that's a bit of a challenge for us as well, because we don't prepare this, so we just do it on the cuff. And of course we have that Hermetic wheel. So what's the situation with the Hermetic wheel this week?
Well, right up until Friday, we're in the Six of Cups, which we did touch upon a bit last week. Six of Cups is very much about nostalgia, maybe thinking about our childhood. We can have rose-tinted glasses on a little bit, you know, remembering how things used to be and maybe yearning for it. We might be feeling like we want to go through some old photographs or letters, just reconnect with our roots. It could also mean that someone from our past comes back into our lives. So...
I should just interject there. So we went out for a drink last night and you showed me about 4 photographs of ex-boyfriends.
Oh, I did, yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
And so that's interesting, isn't it? So
Yeah,
you were talking it all through
Yeah.
how you gained different experiences and what their qualities were and stuff.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about my ex-girlfriends is they're all still in our life.
They're still all your friends.
So
I've seen them.
Elisa's had to be very, very brave around that. But
Oh, no, they're lovely. Really
we've
lovely.
got 2 very, very special people. Jackie and Jill are still very much part of our lives. So that's lovely. So
Yeah, so that really does tie into that notion of the Six of Cups.
So what do we go on to? Is it the 7 of Cups?
Yeah, we go on to the 7. So I don't see the seven.
Second? What's the second of Cups? No, the second of Cups.
The Second of Cups. I don't see it as a negative card. It's more a little bit confusing. You know, we've got so many choices. We don't know which, road to go down.
Overwhelmed with options.
We're overwhelmed with options. But usually they're actually quite interesting options. So rather than see it like stressfully, just think to ourselves, it's better to have more options than to have no options. So
that's terrific.
That's what we move on to.
So going to this word of the week then, redemption. So I've really not thought about this too much. So who would redeem themselves? Would it be someone who perhaps did something wrong, like maybe they were involved with violence or crime and then they became a youth counsellor, or they lectured on the Lord, perhaps how that had come into their life. So Jonathan Aikens, who was a Conservative minister of the British government many years ago, he took the path of the Lord after going to prison for fraud, I think, or perjury it may have been. And I think he's still very much involved in helping people from that experience. So
I love that. That is so true. And I think the movies that I kind of really enjoy are those redemption stories where you start off with the guy, usually, who's had a bit of a, shady past and is kind of going on a journey to rediscover themselves and to help other people. I think it follows on a bit from last week when we spoke about forgiveness, because forgiveness and redemption, I think, can go a bit hand in hand, especially if we're the one that's been forgiven. Redemption for me is sort of almost like a pardon from something that we have done wrong, where we've shown that we're sorry and that we're working on things, and the person, situation, or people in our lives have said, yes, I'm willing to give you another chance, and that is a redemption in a way.
Okay, really, that's brilliant. Now, in terms of the astrology this week, we have a big collective in the sign of Scorpio, and one of those, the Sun. The Sun's forging a lovely trine as the week goes on, which is a very enabling 120-degree angle with Neptune. Now, Neptune, the planet of dreams, the planet of healing and compassion, has been very influential on a series of lunations going back quite a few years. But Neptune can be distorting. But in this angle, I think this is kind of saying to us that the depth of Scorpio and the passion can be linked to how we might assist and help others. So in the run-up to Christmas, which is the season of materialism, really, these days, it's nice to think that there are still lots of opportunities to do things for those who are less fortunate. But also this could be a week when we think about our own healing in a bit more of an active way. So perhaps if COVID rules allow, wherever you are, you could have a massage or some chiropractic or some aromatherapy, something that's very uplifting. Also a spa day might be very nice because Neptune, of course, very much to do with the seas and water, very, very healing. But the other thing that's going on this week is the ruler of Scorpio, traditionally, is Mars, and that's in a conjunction with Mercury. That points towards a lot of urgent action and potentially in a physical sense, a more material sense, around managing our resources. But I wouldn't suggest that anyone makes too many snap decisions this week because both are being challenged by the more restrictive energies of Saturn in the sign of Aquarius. So we could be thinking that Aquarius is much more to do with higher ideals, the future, the team, the group. So if there's someone talking about a get-rich-quick scheme, and that could be linked these days to these digital currencies, and people are saying, look, you can make so much money. Well, just check things out and also make sure that things feel comfortable in terms of our own personal values. There's also a quarter moon this week in Aquarius, which challenges the Sun in Scorpio. So there's a bit of a theme this week between the two signs. And of course, both signs are fixed, don't necessarily like to flex. So I would say that this is a week where our resources and also our attitudes or our involvement with groups of people or friends is something that requires care. So that old saying of not mixing business with finance, business with friendship, may actually hold true. Now, in terms of the modality, we're lots of misspeaking this week, but we keep it natural. So in terms of the modality, what card are you going for?
Well, this week I thought we'd use the energy oracle cards. We haven't used these for absolutely ages. I really love them. Would you like to pick one?
Oh, thank you.
I'll shuffle them, you pick them.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Ooh. So the word on this card is contract. So I feel this week some contracts for some of us may be coming in, whether this is signing documents or setting something up. This could be to do with property. It could be to do with a career move. It could be to do with, any of these things. I think going back to the astrological advice that you gave, just to read through those documents very carefully, look at the small print.
Look at the long-term implications.
Look at the long-term implications.
Which is what the sign of Aquarius is about the future.
Because we might get overexcited and think, I just want to sign on the dotted line, but let's just slow things down, check things out, not get too ahead of ourselves. But that could be some great news there this week for some of us. So
Well, that sounds great. Now, if you'd like to enter into the free birthday prize draw for the natal chart analysis and solar return analysis, it would be for week commencing the 15th of November. So if your birthday's from the 15th to the 21st of November, please write to us direct. You can go to our website and see the contact form there, or just share your details underneath on YouTube. If you'd like to put forward a question or a word for the week commencing the 15th show, please do so. But now I'm going to don my spectacles and have a look at the winner this week. Now, we're recording this a little bit later in the day because we've actually been away for a few days. It was a bit of a working break, but we've come back and the light is really dropping, so it's very autonomous here. So we've got the highlighter behind the camera. So apologies for the reflection on my glasses. So the winner is Linda. And Linda S, I'm going to say, because we're going to protect people's identities. So Linda was born on the 10th of November 1948 at 3:46 p.m. in Malden in Massachusetts. So I won't go into my Bee Gees impersonation, Linda. Do you know that song? Massachusetts.
I don't, but I do now.
Well, yeah.
What a great introduction.
Well, Linda, when you were born, you had the sun, of course, in Scorpio, but in the seventh house. So even though you're a Scorpio person and you do also have Mercury there and also Chiron, you're a relator. But because Chiron's in the seventh house, it may have felt at times that however much you sort of lent into situations and were very skilled at understanding other people's point of view, you perhaps not have always felt you've got that back. Your midpoint is actually between the moon, which is in Pisces, at 10 degrees, and the sun. So you've got a lovely watery trine between those two water triplicities. The midpoint is actually at 15 degrees in Capricorn. So like quite a lot of people who've entered in over the last months, having anything around Capricorn of any great importance, which of course the midpoint is hugely important, means that as Saturn, Jupiter and Pluto have all passed over your midpoint, I think there was some potential for big changes, and that would have peaked around about 2 years ago. But you also have Jupiter in Sagittarius in the ninth house along with that midpoint. So your chart's interesting because your node, your north node, your direction of spiritual travel in life is actually very reflective. But I think that you're someone who probably has travelled quite a lot. I think you may have been quite an athlete when, last year, let's put it that way, Linda. And but you've got Mars in Sagittarius, which would have given you a real thirst for experiencing different things. And having Jupiter, the ruler of Sagittarius, also in that sign, but in the ninth house, gives you a lot of desire to research and investigate things. You may have been a teacher or a lecturer or someone who's been involved in higher knowledge. You may have moved around the world a lot, for sure. Now, in terms of Saturn, which is also very important in a chart, it's in the fifth house and it's in Virgo. So you've got an eye for detail, but the fifth house position of Saturn can point towards perhaps limitations around being able to enjoy ourselves or perhaps around children. So it means your Saturn is opposite your moon. So maybe is around your social or romantic life, there have been challenges over time. And I think your big thing in life, I think, is essentially being truthfulness and fairness. And if you haven't always got that back from others, that may have been quite a challenge. You've also got Jupiter in an opposition with Uranus. That points towards perhaps some changeable events in your life, a degree of unpredictability. But I don't think it would have been dull, and all that desire to relate well to others is also reinforced by the fact that you have the position of Venus, Neptune, the vertex, and Eros, the planet of love, all in the sign of Libra. But it does mean that your Venus and Neptune do square up your midpoint. So I think there's probably been a little bit of disappointment here and there around the romantic situation. But I think essentially you're a very fair-minded person who's always tried to see the other person's viewpoint. But I think with Saturn where it is, perhaps there has been a bit of shyness washing around in the situation. Now, for your solar return for this year, you do actually have Mars conjunct Mercury, just like we have this week, and it is unfortunately therefore square Saturn. So it really, your solar return is a bit of a mini-me of what I've spoken of for this year for us all, which is to be cautious with resources, not to be too speculative in your approach. But it does point towards the potential for a sociable year ahead for you. But I think your choice of friends could need to be redefined a little bit. You're going to be looking for people that really meet your values, because Saturn is conjuncting the moon, so in the second house. So you don't want to be giving away your resources. And with Mars and Mercury squaring the moon and Saturn from the 11th house to the second, I just think being a bit more selective and picky about who you spend time with and around any business interests you have is going to be a good thing. But your ascendant is in Sagittarius, and of course you do have that Sagittarian side to your nature. And Juno, the asteroid of relating, is actually conjunct your natal Jupiter. So, something fresh could happen around a relationship, but you need to make sure that your values and their values mesh. So that's that. So where does that lead us? Drum roll.
I think we've covered everything
We've
that
covered
we usually
everything.
cover in the weekly show.
Yeah. Okay.
Just want to say a big thank you to our patrons as well, especially.
Yeah, we're really sorry we haven't been updating you.
We've had a lot of work, admin stuff to catch up on, and that has eaten into a lot of our
difficulties
time.
with a car which packed in.
So we've had
lots of visitors.
Yeah.
And it's been a busy old time.
But we're gonna catch up with you this week for sure, and
And if you would like to get your free daily horoscope, if you're new to our show, free daily horoscope, been writing these for over 25 years, see the link beneath this video and you can get that fired to your device each morning and absolutely totally free. But for now, from the A team, it is
goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.